Hi, my name's Dr. Benjamin Jones and I'm an Australian historian at Central Queensland University, specialising in republicanism and national identity. And I want to spend a few minutes talking about how to build a research profile through non-academic platforms. So things like Twitter, mainstream websites like The Conversation, using your own website and other means. And the first bit of advice I'll give is to self-promote. You can have great content, you can have great ideas, but you need to sell yourself. And to an extent, however dehumanizing you may find it, think of yourself as a brand. And thinking as a brand, the first step might even be to consider what name you want to use professionally. So I'm Ben to my friends, but with a generic Welsh last name like Jones, I've decided to always include my full name and middle initial for publications. And the idea there is just to get consistency when people Google you or look for you online. And in terms of self-promotion, I'll lead by example. My Twitter handle is at Dr. Benjamin Jones. Please follow me, I'll follow you back. And this is my latest book. Please read it. And, it might seem a bit silly and self-serving, but the truth is nobody knows your work as well as you do, and nobody will promote your work as well as you do. And self-promotion doesn't come naturally to every personality type, but it is something you can train yourself to do, at least in a professional setting. So always mention the book that's just come out, always mention the article you've just published, always mention the research project that you're going to do. People can send you things, can send you articles, and can help get people in your corner, build your network, let people know when you're looking for work, when you're looking for articles and evidence, and when you're looking for chances to publish reviews or to review books. If senior academics don't know what you need, then they can't help you. Broadly speaking, publish or perish, it hasn't been replaced, but it certainly has a rival in this paradigm of visible or vanish. In one sense, this is a return to the 1960s and the age of the great public intellectual. Short paperbacks by academics were really popular. Donald Horne, Germaine Greer would write these short, punchy, but intellectually rigorous books. Penguin was one of the main publishers. And it was the type of thing people would buy at the train station and read as they go to work. Times have changed, the mediums have changed, but there seems to be an appetite again for short, well-written, intelligent works by academics that people can now read on their Kindle, their tablet, or their phone. So Redback is an imprint of Black Ink, and that's one of the publishers filling this market, generally about 40,000 words. And again, self-promotion, my most recent book is one of those. Palgrave Pivot is another excellent example. They're getting a great response to this new series at around 25,000 to 50,000 words. So there is a market for short works, and this is another skill to develop. The modern academic must be able to communicate effectively in a monograph, in a journal article, in a newspaper article, or in a tweet. Each of these takes different talents and their skills to be developed. The majority of people are only going to read the tweet or are only going to read the 800-word article anyway, so these really are skills worth developing. Just in my own personal experience, I've published 5 books. They sell, 1,000 copies or so. One of my articles for The Conversation has 100,000 unique views, so in terms of impact, there really is no comparison. That isn't to say books and peer-reviewed journal articles don't matter, they absolutely do. That is how you establish your academic credentials. That's how you gain the respect of your peers. That's how you become competitive when seeking employment or funding opportunities, and it's how you boost your university's rankings. Very important indeed. But writing for the mainstream press, building an online research profile, and communicating your thoughts and findings to a wide audience is very important too. So academic Twitter is a bit of a minefield, and there certainly are no concrete rules how you should conduct yourself, but these are just some observations of mine. Firstly, use it to self-promote. So what is it about teachers and the magic number of threes? So again, there's my new book, the picture, and also a link to it. So please buy it, and please use your Twitter to promote whatever your latest research project is. In terms of how you present yourself more generally on academic Twitter, I note that there seems to be two extremes, and this is very personal. But on the one side, there are people who share a lot. They make it very personal, lots of family photos. They talk openly about their personal lives, issues in their relationships, and those sorts of things. And when political events come, they respond in a very unguarded way and use language that perhaps isn't academic. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that, but it's just worth thinking about what you want your academic profile and your academic personality to be like. And the only thing I'd caution with sharing a lot of personal information is often when you tweet something out, you're thinking of your friends as the audience, you're thinking of the people you like as your audience, you're thinking of the people who normally respond and interact with you. But it is worth just considering that it's not just them who see this, it's everybody. This is out in the public domain. So it's worth seriously considering where you want your levels to be of what you'll share, especially from your personal life. But the other extreme are these super professional Twitter pages that tend to be dry, boring, and cold. If all you do is say, you're an academic from this university, here's my latest book, and then the next time you publish an article, here's my latest article, that will have some small niche interest, depending on your profile more generally. But in terms of growing your profile and growing your impact, people will be more invested in you and your work if they know a little bit about it. So rather than just tweeting once your newest article has come out, if you take people on a journey, you tweet about your experience in the archives, you tweet about your frustration finding sources, and also you reach out and ask questions. Do you think you should include this bit of evidence or not? How do the people on Twitter think you should footnote this? And people love offering their 2 cents, asking other academics what their experience has been and asking for their advice. There are many academics out there on Twitter who are more than willing to offer advice. And if you've framed your article like this and people feel like they've been on the journey with you, and then when you tweet, now it's finally out, you're probably going to have a larger audience saying, well, I want to see the finished product. A few quick final points on this. I think there's enough nastiness out there already on social media in general, and especially on Twitter. So be kind, be generous with your retweets and your love hearts, and be an encourager. Use it as a platform to build people up. And also be generous with your follows. I once was advised that if you want to be seen as an influencer, you should try to get a ratio of about having 4 times more followers than people you are following. And I tried to keep to this for a little while, and every time I'd find a new exciting historian I wanted to follow or a new institution to follow, I'd almost feel obliged to go back to who I'm following and unfollow a few people. And I've since decided that's pretty silly unless you really are have some delusion of grandeur of being some kind of major celebrity. I don't think this is the way academic Twitter works. I don't think anyone cares how many people you follow, or even necessarily how many are following you. It's more about having the right followers. And if you find the community of people and the community of researchers who are in your area and you're following the right people, then that's far more important. So, and people get a buzz, they get that little dopamine hit when they get a notification to say more people are following them, especially if you follow students, if you follow early career researchers. I think, why not? Who cares how many you follow? So other than that, promote your work and also take time outs. Do monitor how long in your working day especially you are spending on Twitter. It is, in a sense, part of your job, but it's probably not the most important part of it. So definitely take note if it's starting to hurt your productivity. There is a question of balance, and it's very individual how you want to approach it. Personally, I'm not very regimented. Sometimes I'll write lots of articles, be very active on Twitter, and then go through a few months and realize, wow, I haven't published anything academic in a long time, and then I'll log out and not have any social media and try and pump out an article or so. Other people, they set in their calendar a specific time, and so they do view it quite literally as work. They're going to spend an hour building their Twitter profile, and then they're going to go back. So whatever works for you. And I think blogs are a really powerful way. So moving on to a new topic, I suggest you do start your own blog, because it's a wonderful training on how to write with impact in 800 words or 1,000 words, how to write really well in this sort of medium. WordPress is really popular because it's easy to use. And for young academics especially, it can be a struggle to get things published by a newspaper or online sites like The Conversation. So a blog is great. You can basically publish yourself and you can practice writing in this form. My personal approach has always been write the article first, then pitch. I find editors, if they don't know you and you say, here's a good idea for an article, but they don't know what the quality of your work is, they tend to be very cautious. Whereas if you say in your pitch, look, it's already written, will you just take a look at it? They're more likely to at least say, yes, I will have a look. And even if it ends up being rejected, then it's already written and you can just post it on your blog. Perseverance definitely is the key though. Be prepared for a lot of rejections. I've certainly had far more rejections than I have acceptances for short articles, but think of it as part of your academic outreach. And also, you just never know what is going to happen. I had an article about history in a post-truth world that I just published on my own blog. I promoted it on Twitter and Facebook. A few people read it. Anyway, years went by and it just sat there. And then I received an email from a Polish PhD candidate who really liked it and wanted to ask me questions about it. I was heading over to Europe anyway for a conference and said, if you'd like, I can give a guest lecture at your uni. That turned into a whole symposium. The symposium was a great success. And then we asked participants if they wanted to turn their papers into book chapters. We pitched it to Routledge, who got a contract, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. So the end result is going to be this excellent edited work in a major academic press, and all of that started from a blog post. So here are just some examples of people who I think blog really well and use Twitter and social media really well. More generally, the first is my friend Gemma. She's an expert on French cinema. And as you can see, it's very simple. She's got an excellent book. She's got that front and center. Again, self-promote is the keys to the kingdom, and has it linked to her Twitter. And it's just very simple. It's not something that's going to take hours and hours out of her day, but it's something she can maintain to keep up her online presence. Another friend, James Avanatakis, again, a reasonably simple blog, and again linked to his Twitter, and has this excellent section up the top. You can read his bio, you can read his research, and this is really cross-advertising because you can find all these things on his academic profile as well, but it's just making it as easy as possible for people to know as quickly as possible what you're about as an academic. And the Piracy Lab, that's his personal project, Teaching Like a Pirate. He's won many prestigious awards for this. So again, if you've got a specific research project, you can have that in a specific section promoted on your blog. And another friend, Claire Wright, fabulous historian. This is just a gorgeous website that she's got. And actually one of her clever students put this together. It looks like it's professionally done, but if you do have people with IT know-how, you can put something together that looks really great like this as well. And you can pay to get something professionally done if you're so inclined. Certainly for casuals and ECRs, I don't think it's worth the financial investment. I don't think you'll get a return on your money doing that. And, you know, as you can see, this is an example of how good it can look without needing a professional. The line between media and academia has become blurred in the age of social media. Twitter especially, it's a place of conversation, so use it to build relationships. Follow journalists and radio hosts who you'd like to appear with. Build contacts and get a reputation for being reliable and a good guest. Radio in particular works fast. They don't necessarily care about getting the best person. They want the best person they can get within the next couple of hours or so when their program's about to start. So in 2016, for instance, I was listening to the US presidential debates and started live tweeting my ideas. Next thing, I got a message through Twitter. So they hadn't used my academic profile. They hadn't called the university media department. They saw it on Twitter and they sent me a direct message and asked me to appear on their program. And a part of me thought there are many experts out there who could give a much longer, much better response. But the fact is, they saw my tweets, they thought I was writing interesting things and had interesting opinions, and they wanted someone they could get straight away. And so I did it, and it was great. But I am one of those people who checks their email, checks their Twitter notifications pretty much 24/7. And I'm the first to admit that's probably not healthy, but that is the game. And a program producer is not going to wait very long before they organize another guest. So there is a factor to think about, which is how much free labor do you want to give? I basically have said and still more or less do say yes to every radio and TV appearance I've ever been asked. And especially if you're a PhD candidate or an early career researcher trying to build your profile, it's not a bad policy. And you should keep a record of everything you do. Don't think only your journal articles count. It definitely is worth having a comprehensive list of every radio program and every newspaper article that you write, because this is part of your academic outreach. This is part of that visible or vanish paradigm. And radio interviews especially, it's a skill that takes time. And they want you to speak in sound bites. That doesn't come naturally, especially not for academics. We're used to giving these long introductions and all these disclaimers and really setting the nuance and the context of what you're talking about. They want sound grabs. So think ahead of time, especially in your research area, what are some sound grabs? If somebody was to ask you on air, what is your thesis about? Can you give them a 40-second response that makes them think, I want to know more? Or do you need 5 minutes to even get to the broadest introduction? It's something worth practicing as well. Remember, nobody knows your research like you do. A good exercise is to try a pinned tweet on your thesis. What is the core of it? What are the questions you're looking at? Why does this research matter? And if you can fit this in the space of a tweet, that basically is the space of a 20-second, 30-second sound grab anyway for radio. So it is a skill worth developing. And it's good to carve out a research identity. So in my case, I'm pretty happy to just be known as the Republic guy. When I meet journalists, when I meet academics at conferences, I'm pretty happy to just say, yes, I'm the Republic guy. And there are more strings to my bow than that. I am a nuanced, well-rounded person, or I like to think I am. But it is valuable to be able to just have that go-to identity, I'm the Republic guy. And it means that when there are journalists who want to interview someone about the Republic, they think, yes, Benjamin T. Jones, he's the Republic guy. When there are book reviews on the Republic, people get it in their mind. So whether you're the environmental history person or whether you're the French cinema person or whatever it is, think again in terms of a brand, how you want people to quickly identify you and what they want to identify your research with. And so on this slide, you just see how all of these different online mediums can complement each other. So you have obviously your university research page as the first step about what you're about as a researcher, but then your blog and website, you can have all of those publications, especially your most recent book or article. So there's a cross-pollination, and then Twitter and Facebook, again, you're sharing essentially the same information, but it's another medium that people can find you. And then if you write articles for the mainstream press, they'll often have a profile for you, again, where you can say, this is Dr. So-and-so from such and such university, and have your email address. And then academic social media as well, academia.edu and ResearchGate. So if you have these sort of 5 elements out there, then you are going to be easier to find. And there's nothing more frustrating than thinking you're an expert on a topic, you've got good, interesting opinions, and you've got something of value to add, especially to public debates, but no one ever asks you because no one can ever find you. So having these 5 work in tandem can be very effective. So final thoughts, Google yourself. That is not a vainglorious thing to do, especially for academics. It's an insightful and interesting thing to do. See what happens. See where you appear. And see if it's easy or if it's difficult, and put yourself in a journalist's shoe if they were trying to get in touch with you. Get on Twitter, on academia.edu, Facebook, have a blog. On Twitter, follow the people you want to influence and observe the people you want to emulate. Have an outreach program. Think about how much time you want to spend. Try and stick to it. Is it 1 blog article per month? Whatever it is, have a plan. Every conference paper you write, which is why it's great to go to conferences, should be worked both into a journal article, so going in one direction, but also a mainstream article going the other. And finally, self-promote, even if it does come naturally, and buy my book. Thank you.